All right. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Social Zee Franchise Happy Hour. We're back after about a 3-month hiatus for the summer, I guess. We're very excited to get rolling again. And our first guest kind of here this fall is David Schuck, coming from Nashville, Tennessee. And he's here to talk to us about his background, but also tell us about his newest venture in Spartan Fitness. So, David, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Calvin. Excited.
So what we ask everyone to do, David, to kick us off is just give us a 60 to 120 second intro, anything that you feel is important to help people know who you are and what you do.
Yes. 2 minutes. I'll stick to it. All right. So grew up in North Carolina, was a basketball player. So played college basketball, played a couple years over professionally in Europe, came back and realized I didn't want to be a coach or a teacher. And then it was, got into sales and sort of went job to job over a few years and figured out I didn't like having a boss. So I said, all right, I'm going to start my own thing, and looked into franchising because I didn't feel I was that creative. So let me find something I can execute versus figuring out how to create a business. So I wanted to execute a business plan. Franchising made a lot of sense. Looked into it, went low cost, started my first franchise at Liberty Tax back in 2007. Grew with that, became the largest franchise owner in that system. 6 years ago, wanted a new challenge and got into Club Pilates, which at the time was a very emerging concept with very few units, and it's just exploded. So now going on the project, to scale Club Pilates and future brands we'll talk about. On a personal side, married and have 3 kids, an 18-year-old, twin daughters that are 13, and I switch hobbies about every 6 months. Right now, I'm actually without a hobby. I'm sort of work is my hobby right now, but it's gone from golf to guitar to boating to cigars to bourbon. It's all over. But anyway, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, David. So you mentioned you had an 18-year-old and you have a twin 13-year-olds. Is that right?
Yes. Great kids. Tanner's in senior in high school, and the girls are 8th grade. And they grow up fast. That's all I can say. They grow up fast. Seems like yesterday.
Absolutely. That's a full-time job in itself. So, so you mentioned, David, that you started your first franchise in 2006, and then you grew it from there. When you started Liberty Tax, did you plan on, growing that and then continuing in the franchise world, or how did it go from, starting your first location to being the biggest franchise owner in that system?
Yeah, and I think it's actually, if I said 2006, it was actually 2007. But the idea was, let me start my own thing. Let me see if I can do it. I don't like having a boss. Let me be my own boss. And the initial thought, once the day the door opened, was, oh my goodness, I can actually lose a lot of money if this thing doesn't work out. Because I never thought about failure until that day when I had to actually start producing. That's funny. I'll never forget that. And had really good, one thing about the tax business, it's very condensed, it's seasonal, so you get quick feedback loops. If you're doing something good, hey, pour more resources, do it over. If you're doing something that's not getting results, you get that feedback real quick. So learned a lot of good lessons, realized I had something that I enjoyed, that worked, that was successful, and so continued building new, and then started acquiring Liberty Tax over the years, and had a lot of fun doing that, and just learning all the lessons of how to go from being a single unit operator to a multi-unit franchisee.
Sure. And back in those days, David, I'm assuming that was your first venture as a business owner. You mentioned, obviously the risk kind of hit you at, that first day, but what were the other things that, really surprised you that you were good at as a business owner? And then what are the things, since 2007, that you've had to work on and improve yourself personally on?
Yeah, great question. Everything's a journey, right? So, I mean, even though you fix things and improve things, you've never, the way I think, you've never fully arrived, right? So it's always a journey of, even if, you feel like you got it figured out, that's when life comes and smacks you down. But I would say early on, and this has been a trait throughout my business career, is I find ways to win, right? So I overcome adversity. I don't let obstacles get in the way, and that is something that I can identify as a separator between successful people and people that struggle. Are successful people find a way to get around and through that obstacle, whatever obstacle presents itself, to get where they want to go. So that's a trait that I feel really proud about. The other is I've always I think it's a good thing is I've always been good at trying to grow and improve, and not not thinking that I'm the only one that can do something. So I learned early on that if I was going to build a business, it had to be with people and not because of me. So delegation and collaboration and leadership and teamwork, were lessons I learned very, very early on. I couldn't click every button. I couldn't hire every person. I couldn't train every person. Because if you tried to do that, you end up in the hospital or, going crazy. So anyway, that's some of the current challenges I'm dealing with, is just this new phase of growth. So how do I frame my role to a larger company, a larger business? How do I focus more of my time on the things that matter? How do I prioritize my time to the things that I'm personally good about and really pour into to the executives that are on my team and let them have room to run with and grow themselves. So yeah, it's all, that's the cool thing in business, is you never arrived. You always just have a different set of challenges, and that's a cool thing is in my mind, right? There's always something that I've got to figure out or grow, or there's always somebody ahead or some challenge that is into the future, and trying to figure out how to get there. And then once you get there, what's the new goalpost? What's the new mark? What's the new vision? What's the new standard that you need to try and get to and work towards?
Sure, absolutely. David, with your background and playing sports, and not only at the college level, but professionally as well. Like how much of that do you felt like drives what you do now? Is there like a strong competitiveness? Is it the teamwork piece? Like how much of that has you think influenced how you operate and running all your businesses now?
A lot. I joke around with people that a lot of my analogies are sports analogies, so that everything can come back to sports. To make a simple one, what I care about and what I talk about as far as our company work culture, work ethic culture is, I want folks that play hard. If I'm on a basketball team, you miss a shot, whatever, let's play hard. Let's run up and down the floor. Let's hustle. Let's dive on the floor. Let's work hard during practice, right? Let's not just be a game player where you're, not trying to get better and to just show up for the games. Same thing in business, right? I want to surround myself with a team that plays hard. I want scrappy folks. I want people that hustle. I want people that do the things when the lights aren't on, because that's what I do. And I think that's what gets results, and that's what is satisfying, is when you put that hard work in and you play hard, then you are able to find those victories, and they mean a lot more. So yes, sports, I definitely can take direct lines back to a lot of lessons I got from sports and coaches and throughout my career.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, you want people to play hard, David, and you talked about, learning to delegate and to build your team and to trust them. I think one of the hardest things, or for me anyway, one of the hardest things is finding the right people and knowing who to build your team around. What are the things that you look for in people and employees and, executives when you're growing your team? Do you look for people that have the same background as you, who, maybe were college athletes, or, what are the things that you've found works well when you're building your team?
Yeah, I mean, athletes are always good because then I got somebody else I can talk sports with.
Sure.
But no, what I look for, and by the way, my experience has always been, you never know till you know. You're going to make hiring mistakes. So a lot of times you just never know till you know. Now you can help yourself out by trying to hire high character individuals. So that's one of my principles is hire character first, talent second. Very important to me to hire high character individuals. Second is goes back to that scrappiness. I care about a work ethic. We want folks that are they're gonna get results, right? And they're gonna push through walls to get to results. And then I think it's important for people that are solutions based, results based, and overcome adversity. One of the questions I ask in every interview is, can you give me an example in life how you overcame some adversity, and talk about how it impacted your life. So those are just a handful of things, but yeah, by all means, I think the more important thing on hiring folks is it's as much a two-way street, right? As much as me or our company selling and almost marketing, right, to that new team member to find the best talent we can and the best fit for our team. So it's a two-way street. We want to sell a vision. We want to sell our company culture, and we want to attract people that want to work with us, where it's not just, hey, are you a good fit? And let's see if you work or not. We want people coming to us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. David, obviously you're a veteran of the franchise space, been doing it quite a while now, and you've accomplished something that I think a lot of us all want to do, which is having multiple successful brands and businesses that I'm assuming you're at a point now where all your time is not was working on the business, not in the business, which a lot of us when we start we're very much in the business, right? Can you talk about how you've made that transition, and not only with Liberty Tax, but also after you built that, your transition to say, okay, now I'm going to add these other brands to my portfolio?
Yes, definitely not something that comes overnight. It's a process, and it's not a natural, right? Think about it. When you start a business, you put a lot of your money, sometimes all of your money,
Sure.
and then some other that you put on credit cards or whatever into it. So it's very hard to allow other people that inherently don't care as much about your business as you do to be main drivers in the success of that business. So it's sort of unnatural to delegate initially when you start a business, right? So learning that lesson and sort of going through that uncomfortable phase of teaching myself that, other people can do the same things and in a lot of cases get better results. And I am better as part of a group than just me running around doing every role, everything, every decision. And what I've found over time is actually in scaling, it's actually a very beautiful thing when you have a group of folks that buy into that, and there's a trust level there, and you see other people take ownership into the success of that business that you started, because that's another. I get a little cliche, but that's another one of my principles: is be a part of something bigger than yourself. And you can't be a part of something bigger than yourself if you're doing everything in one unit. There's no way. So that delegation and that collaboration and building a team that does things together and allowing folks to make decisions, make mistakes, is a really cool thing. And that's the only way you can scale. Is you have to build a team and almost like an engine of people that drive decisions and processes and results to get that execution. And it's been a fun ride. I'm excited about the future.
Sure.
You're getting me excited here, Calvin.
Sure.
This is fun.
With that, David, as you've continued to scale and you've grown, have you seen more success in creating those leaders and having these people that you do trust and that do, take ownership of these businesses that you started? Have you seen more people come up, kind of through the ranks and kind of promote themselves to be that leader, or have you had more success of bringing somebody outside in with maybe that has more senior, leadership experience?
Yeah, great question. So up to today, I've had good success from within, and I think that's always a good thing to have that homegrown talent, that people that have done every role in the business. For example, I think there's a huge value to that. The place where our business is getting right now, there is some need where, with our fast growth, we're needing to bring some folks that on our support team, and I call it a support team, not a corporate team, on our support team that supports all the units that we have, to bring some outside folks in that know what good looks like. They're not scared about the numbers, by the size, and we can have a healthy balance with keeping sort of that DNA of our, entrepreneurial franchisee, hey, I was there when it was one, type DNA, but also get where we want to go and have people in there that have a level of sophistication where they've sort of been there, done that, right? So that's where we are now. And just to back up a little bit, so right now we're at, by the end of the month, we'll be at right at 50 Club Pilates units open and 40 licenses to develop. We're getting into another brand by the end of, so this fourth quarter, we're getting into another brand, which I can't say which brand it is, but it's in the health, beauty, and fitness, and you would recognize it. But that's our fourth quarter sort of big achievement, is we're getting into another brand with some acquisitions and creating another vertical to go alongside our Club Pilates.
That's awesome. That's amazing, David. That's a lot of locations, a lot of moving parts for sure. With all that you have going on, not only with work but also with your family, what does your day look like now? Like, are you following a schedule, or what is it that is making you successful right now? And what do you want your day to look like when you start it, and what does your day actually look like at the end of it?
Such another great question, and I think about this on a journey. Like, listen, I want it to be a certain way a year from now, 2 years from now. It was a certain way a couple years ago, before when I was sort of like, all right, let's just enjoy some of the cash flow and enjoy the fruits of being an entrepreneur, and I didn't really have too much of a calendar. Everything was driven by, what do I feel like doing? With the project I'm working on now, it is a lot more structured. So I do have a daily schedule. We try and have calls in one half of the day. So either the afternoon or the morning, or all the calls and Zooms and meetings, one-on-ones, things like that, group meetings. The other half is getting work done, brainstorming, building the business. One of the interesting challenges I'm dealing with now is we're across multiple states, so there's a lot of travel. And one of the roles that I play, leading the company, is finding opportunities for growth and new units and acquisitions. So I'm flying around meeting with sellers and trying to find deals and all that good stuff. And so that's a challenge now, is how do I make sure that I spend time doing that, at the same time can keep focus on building the team, building the business, and make sure we're managing all the minutia that goes around with it. So it's I guess it puts a premium on organization and scheduling and planning and delegating, actually. So yeah, my typical day is half of the day a bunch of calls, and the other half is trying to get some work and thinking ahead. putting thought into things, brainstorming, and then there's always a portion where I'm getting some work done, just not fun work, digging in a spreadsheet, making decisions, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, the thinking time is always my favorite part. I always enjoy it the most, and it's the part that I seem to neglect a lot of times whenever I get busy. So it's important for sure. David, last question, and I want to talk a little bit more about your brand specifically. We always talk about what the positive things, the good things. What looking back on your long career in this world now. What do you see as, the one or two things where, like, maybe it was not your biggest mistake or failure, but the thing that, had you known what you know now, you could have done it differently and it could have changed a whole lot for, how quickly you had the success you've had. Like, what are the things that you think about, like, kind of in that aspect?
So I'll give you two. One's personal, one's business. On the personal side, my biggest sort of lesson that I've learned over is don't forget that you're a father and a husband at the expense, because it is very easy when you're growing a business to be 100% work and identify as the entrepreneur versus identifying as a father and a husband and a man. So, like, if I had to do it all over again, I would have definitely drawn some distinct boundaries to make sure that I'm not neglecting family. And I'm a good father and a good husband, but I was some weekends and still I find myself on the phone or, not present with my family as much as we need to be. So that's a lesson that I'm trying to always relearn and recognize. On the business side, I would say on the business side, it has to be aware of your limiting beliefs and be aware of your blind spots. Try to find ways to find out what you're not aware of, deficits you're not aware of, because we all have them. And then also try and find for the limiting beliefs, like, don't think that your limit is I'm just gonna be capable of doing a certain thing, or I'll only, have a business. This is, my 1 unit or my 5 units, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'll figure this out or whatever. If you want to go big, go big. Don't have a limiting belief that you can't do it. And I think that's something that, I had originally thought, like, I'll get into this business. Let me just make this one store, Liberty Tax store, good, right? And then it was, man, 2 is a lot. Man, 5 is a lot. But the more I'm in this game, I learn, like, don't have any limiting beliefs. Like, that's the only thing that's going to keep you from getting where you want to go is believing that you can't do it. So just pushing through that and having and being okay with being uncomfortable is such a powerful thing in your growth as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely. So transitioning here a little bit, David, tell us about the brand. Why did you decide on transitioning away from Liberty Tax and this new focus? What got you excited about it? What were all the good things that got you motivated to be 50 plus units now?
Yeah, several things, but it was new. It's in fitness. I love the idea of fitness. Our mission statement as a company and mine personally is to impact the lives of the people we touch. And the fitness, health, wellness, and beauty industry, that sort of matches, right? It's easy to really live out that mission statement, and especially with Club Pilates, it's such a good franchise, such a good brand, where every member that walks through our doors, we truly have the ability to impact their lives. Every teacher in our studios, every sales rep, every manager is passionate about Pilates, and makes it really easy when you have a business where the folks that are working with you are passionate about the product, right? So such a great brand. I realized it's also a really good unit economics. So the sort of the business model works, and it's manage the manager model, membership based. So, I think we've continued to learn and improve on how we support the unit levels and how we support a region and how we support, overall as a company. And it's been really cool to see what we're doing. Our growth is primarily been through just a buy and build strategy. So we acquire existing units that are doing well, and we build new around. So I want to be in any market that I can see a path to six plus units within Club Pilates. Any market where I can see a path to 6+ unit, that gives me the ability to have a critical mass for some support and regional staff and things like that. Yeah.
Well, David, thank you so much, man. Great conversation, very insightful. Loved everything you talked about the business, but also love that you mentioned, you got to be a husband and a father and a man first. Like we all forget that way too often, I think. So thanks for sharing everything, and hopefully, sometime in the spring we can pick your brain again. I think we could have a whole conversation just on learning from you on how you grow through acquisition, because I know that's something that a lot of us franchisees sort of dream about but aren't real familiar with. But again, thank you so much for your time, and anyone who's taken the time to listen to David and I talk for the last 25 minutes, we appreciate you and hope you join us next time.